Well, it's hard to imagine. I can find everything. Hey, Rio here. It is week 6. And in week 6, and I'm actually recording this earlier. As a matter of fact, I'm at a different place, not a different place in the day. Like this is evening. I normally always record in the morning. So because of the Veterans Day, which is actually the day I'm recording this, which by the way, if you're a veteran, thank you very much for your service to our country. And I'm working today, which is fine with me because I like the flexibility of my job. And as long as I get my job done, I have the flexibility to figure that out, which I know is a big advantage. And I'm blessed and I feel blessed to have my job. And thank you for taking classes because if you didn't, I wouldn't have a job. So let me say thank you for that. And that I try to really honor that commitment you've given to yourself by trying to give you a course that you really don't have to think how it's organized. You should hopefully just know how things go. But sometimes, even with my best intentions, things go awry. So, this week, and the reason I'm maybe prefacing this a little bit, this week is your second lab test. Okay. And this time it's Excel. Okay. So, here's the thing I would say to you if you're watching this, this is going to hit you the first due date of this week. And, it's probably too late to say this, but, make sure you have it because some of you, for some, who knows, various reasons why you might have Word and not Excel, but most of the time you get Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. It's Access, which we, by the way, start this week for Mac students that I've been trying to raise that flag about. So maybe the thing you want to do this week is make sure you have Microsoft Access. You can go down to your start. You can use your finder. On Mac, you're not going to have it. Okay. I'm just going to tell you right now. That's why I did that video. Okay. So this is the week you want to ask yourself, as we move forward, because we're in week 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Not even really counting this week. There's 3 weeks left. So we're in this week. I wouldn't count it, but okay, if you feel better, I'll count it. But that's not the point. The point is that this class is on the down slope. Okay. All right. So let's take a look. So in this case, let's see, where am I at? I'm actually on week 5 because I was just looking at some items. And as we roll into week 6, this is what I was talking about with your next lab test. So just a few things, and I said this before, which, by the way, if you want to roll up, okay, just to remember how these lab tests work, which I do recommend, right? On week 4, how lab tests work, it's going to be the same way, same process, but this will be for Excel, okay? So, you know what? So just know you complete it, you download a file out of my IT lab, you do all the work that it says, you upload it into my IT lab, and then you create a PDF of the score and you submit it here. If you're submitting the actual work file, you're not going to get any points for that. Okay. So make sure that you have this process down. The sooner you do it in the week, the better off you're going to be. Okay. So I just want to be clear about that and clear about the process because a couple of you, this threw you off. Many of you got this fine, but I know that for varying reasons, that first lab test can be hard, but the second one can be easier. Now, let me give you that heads up again for Robert DeVoe Peterson. Shout out to Robert. So if you do Robert DeVoe Peterson, I did no space and access lab exam. Guess what? There's also one. And even though this is a little older version, he doesn't give you all exact, but this is really helpful, okay, to take a look at when you're doing this lab test. Again, this is a big hint. This is a big benefit to you to actually watching the video. Okay. All right. So then you start access. Okay. Again, this is the simulated one. This is the one that you're going to want to make sure you have on your system. For those of you on Windows, you should have gotten it when you downloaded Office. For those of you on the Mac, you won't have it because it won't run. I know I've said this before, but I just don't want you to get to the lab test, right? Which is in a couple weeks. So let's just scroll down so I remember myself. Oh, yeah. So it'll be in week 8, right? So in a couple weeks that you will have, and you don't want to, if you're on a Mac, wait until the night it's due to try to set it up on set Windows up. So like I keep pointing down here, but this virtual box is what I use to run Windows on my Mac. Okay. So now that's your Monday night items. Your Thursday night items, looks kind of like what we've seen before. Your second simulation, your chapter quiz, and then the discussion this week is one of those discussions about, that you may, if you've never heard this term pwned, right? To own somebody, and you could think of this in terms of if somebody, like it's almost daily now, sometimes on social media, I see somebody said, my account got hacked. Well, getting your social media hacked is one thing, getting your bank account and your own identity so that somebody uses it is a whole other thing. Both are not good. One is definitely worse than the other. So I want you to read through this, right? And this is key, I've said this before, but write a narrative, right? About this, right? Because it is just good to understand. And if there's a hesitancy when you go to click on something like this, because the first thing I see when I see this is like, I'm not giving you my email, right? But this site has been used many times. Please validate it or do some other of your own research, right? About knowing this, but more importantly, right, be able to understand, how important passwords are. And there are definitely things to help us make stronger passwords. Like my Chrome does a really good job. I used to not trust Chrome to save my passwords, but I've gotten a little more trusting in the last couple of years, and it definitely makes life easier. So here's what you want to do in narrative style: answer the questions that are here, right? And asking a question about how good is your passwords, and it gives you a site there to do. I also use one for GRC has one that I like, and basically I can either let somebody else, a site, create a password for me, such as my Chrome as well, right? And then just write a narrative covering these topics. Make sure you reply to somebody. And so that, again, of all the discussions, these are really critical to helping you be a good citizen. Understanding the amount of insecurity, unfortunately, we are all faced with. So, watching these videos, I think, is just really helpful to understand that concept. Okay, let's see. I told you about that. You have that. Let's just look ahead. Okay, so here we are on the 11th. You're going to watch this hopefully before the 15th here, right? And then we have next week, and then week after is Thanksgiving. Now, one thing I noticed that I have here is I have all the items setting on this Thursday night. So my tendency is just to move them forward to have them all here. But I'm actually not going to move them. But I will tell you, as I said with the holiday yesterday, right, is I'm going to give you until the following Monday morning. Okay, so these items are going to stay. I will grade them as I see them submitted, but as long as they're there by the next Monday morning when I wake up and go to grade or whenever I get home from the gym, I will not consider them late. Okay? So I want you to know that as we roll into Thanksgiving and in the downward slope of this class. Okay, I think that's enough. What's my question for you, right? Do you before you even do any of the research for or look at the content for passwords, do you feel your passwords are secure? If so, why? If not, why? Okay. And you can just say yes or no. You don't have to be elaborate here because I know this is attendance, which, by the way, let me just say with attendance is a way I have to report to the campus that you're here during this week. But it's also my kind of check in for this. And I have heard many of you in your replies say, thank you for creating these videos. You're welcome. I feel it's like helpful to maybe give you that preview and give you a heads up on what's heading at you, like some of the stuff I did today. But besides the fact that Mac students, you really got to think about getting access. Now is the time. Even for Windows students, make sure you have access and you can reply with questions to any of this. But what I really like to hear is before you watch that content at the on the Thursday night item for week 6 is, do you feel your passwords are secure? And if they're easy to remember, they're probably not, because the general concept is a random sequence of a longer length of characters and numbers and special characters is does generally a strong password make. So, the more important a password is to you, the more likely it should be complicated. Then you have to ask yourself, well, how would I ever remember that? This is why they make password systems to make your life a little easier. But even those you kind of have to make sure you understand, because I think there was one that actually got hacked over the last year that very many people were using. So it also makes you go, who can I trust with this kind of stuff? Okay, enough from me. Have a great week. I'll talk to you soon.